Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for my continued followers, I want to thank you. Got to talk a little bit about Baltimore. And as I'm seeing here in the last 10 years, you're seeing a lot of black female attorneys, politicians that are heading and moving into much higher places than we've ever seen before, and much more powerful places. Of course, we know we had, well, as a male, we had the first black president with Barack Obama, and now we have the first black female vice president in Kamala Harris. But there's been several other black females. It seems like in the last 10 years, there's been Pandora's box has opened up for tons of black females to garner high political, legal positions throughout our country. And I just want to name a few and then lead into this one that was in Baltimore. But also, as you know, the more power and prestige that you garner, the more responsibility and the bigger the light and the lens that is on you. And so just to name a few, you had Kim Gardner, who was the U.S. attorney, who was a St. Louis circuit attorney here in St. Louis for a number of years. And as you know, there was a ton of controversy about her. And there was about 1,000 cases backlogged, including murder cases that were going and being dismissed because they weren't brought to trial in a timely fashion. And she ended up leaving. She had a lawsuit with the feds. The federal government came in after her. The governor of Missouri, and she got castigated right out of her seat as a St. Louis circuit attorney. And she had been there, that was her second term. She had been there a number of years, less than 10 years. And now an African-American man named Gabe Gore took her position. But she was the first black female U.S. attorney, not U.S. attorney, St. Louis circuit attorney, prosecuting attorney. And everybody, St. Louis, North St. Louis, the majority of St. Louis is Democrat. And there's a high African-American population here. And people were looking forward to her. But she dropped the ball. Then we got U.S. attorney in Fulton County, Fani Willis, that's going after the president. The ex-president Donald Trump, and she is being highlighted for her relationship with Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor that she brought in, and the not so good look in her relationship, felonious relationship with her special prosecutor, him getting paid 10 times what the other prosecutors on the case are getting paid, and them taking trips together and finally admitting that she's in a relationship with the attorney that she hired. Not a good look. And then, of course, we had the president of Harvard, Dr. Claudine Gay, who ended up, she was the 30th Harvard University president and had the shortest tenure of only 6 months. And they end up letting her go based on anti-Semitic rhetoric on campus that they felt she did not attack and dissipate and remove from campus life at Harvard. And then also they started alleging that she had plagiarized her dissertation and some other papers. So she ended up leaving. And so those have been a few people, African-American women, that have been in high positions, and to a certain degree, either the ball has dropped or there's been a castigating negative lens on them. And now we have Cori Bush, who is a Democratic congresswoman out of St. Louis, and she's got some stuff going on where she's paying her husband to be the head of her security an enormous and egregious amount of money. And it's not looking good. But you've got some other folks. You've got that black women that have done good. Especially, I'm originally from Chicago, and then I live in St. Louis now. But the city attorney of Chicago is Mary Richardson Lowry, who's black, African American. I guess she's doing a decent job. And then you have the first, this is the lady that broke ground as the first black female federal magistrate judge in Chicago by the name of Janice Appenting. Janice Appenting, first African American female magistrate judge. So you have some that are doing some outstanding things, and but we want to get to. Then you had a former Baltimore City State's attorney that was in a similar position as Kim Gardner in St. Louis. Her name was Marilyn Mosby, but she started off being the city state's attorney, and now she is in a little bit of trouble. So we have Baltimore City, former Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, convicted on 2 counts of perjury. Defendant falsely claimed to have experienced financial hardship resulting from coronavirus to obtain distributions from the city of Baltimore's deferred compensation plan. So she's a city state's attorney, and then she decides that she wants to get some of that money from the corona deferred compensation plan. So this how it went. A federal jury convicted Marilyn Mosley, age 42, of Baltimore. This is a black woman, Baltimore, Maryland, on federal charges of perjury relating to the withdrawal of funds from the city of Baltimore's deferred compensation plan, claiming that she suffered adverse financial consequences during the COVID-19 pandemic when she was Baltimore's city state's attorney. She had the same position as the young lady Kim Gardner I told you that left under cautionary and tumultuous circumstances here in St. Louis. That was Kim Gardner. She was the St. Louis circuit attorney, and this young lady is the Baltimore City State's attorney. So the conviction was announced by the United States Attorney for the District of Maryland, Eric Barron. Special agent in charge was Thomas Sobocinski of the FBI, Baltimore field office, and special agent in charge Kareem Carter of the Internal Revenue Service, Criminal Investigation, Washington, D.C. field office. Man, they sent the whole cavalry after this young lady, but she's in a high position. She was the city state's attorney. So there is a measure of setting the right example and doing the right thing. And then she's in a position and has the kind of license and power where she can take someone's freedom just by the sign of her pen on a piece of paper. So this young lady, she was a city state's attorney. She had a lot of power. U.S. Attorney Eric Barron said, "We respect the jury's verdict and remain steadfastly committed to our mission to uphold the rule of law, keep our country safe, protect the civil rights of all Americans, and safeguard public property." According to the evidence presented at trial on May 26, 2020 and December 29, 2020, Mosby submitted 457B coronavirus-related distribution requests. Follow it. This is in 2020, May of 2020, and December of 2020, for one-time withdrawals of $40,000 and $50,000, so $90,000 in total, respectively, from City of Baltimore's deferred compensation plan. So she's employed by the city. She is the city state's attorney. And then there's a fund there that's controlled by the mayor's office. And she decides she's going to dip into this coronavirus deferred compensation plan and say that she had lost wages and all of that while she's getting paid by the same building overseer. All of this is part of City Hall, city management, city budget. Trial evidence proved that Mosby falsely certified that she met at least one of the qualifications for distribution as defined under the CARES Act, specifically that she experienced adverse financial consequences from the coronavirus as a result of being quarantined. As I said, remember, she's working in the same department overseer with the city, so they would know, the mayor's office on down would know if she was quarantined or not, physically and financially. She was being quarantined, furloughed, or laid off, having reduced work hours, being unable to work due to lack of child care or the closing or reduction of hours of business she owned or operated. In signing the forms, Mosby affirmed under penalties of perjury the statements and acknowledgments made in this request. As proven at trial, Mosby did not experience any financial hardships, and in fact, Mosby received her full gross salary of, guess what? $247,000, $955.58 from January 1, 2020 through December 29, 2020. She made almost $250,000 in a year. In bi-weekly gross pay direct deposits of $9,183.54. She's getting the direct deposits of almost $19,000 a month, and then she's dipping into this fund, this coronavirus deferred compensation plan. So, Mosby faces maximum sentence of 5 years in federal prison for each of the 2 counts of perjury. U.S. District Judge Lydia Grigsby has not yet scheduled sentencing. In a separate pending federal case, Attorney Mosby also faces 2 counts of making false mortgage applications relating to the purchases of 2 vacation homes in Florida. Those charges remain pending and a trial date has not been set. If convicted of those counts, the defendant faces a maximum of 30 years in federal prison for each of the 2 remaining counts. Actual sentences for federal crimes are typically less than the maximum penalty. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after considering the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. An indictment is not a finding of guilt. An individual charged by indictment is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty at some later criminal proceeding. United States Attorney Eric Barron commended the FBI and the IRS for their work on the investigation and thanked the Baltimore City Office of the Inspector General for his assistance. Mr. Barron thanked U.S. Attorneys Sean Delaney and Aaron Zielinski, who are prosecuting the federal case. So that's a mouthful, and the bottom line is you had this African-American or black woman, young, 42, 43 years old, Marilyn Mosby, who was a city state's attorney, very similar to the position that Kim Gardner had in St. Louis, very similar to the position that Fannie Willis has in Fulton County, Atlanta, where she is trying to convict ex-President Donald Trump on these federal RICO charges in regards to the voting fraud. My point to this entire video is that we're having a plethora of black female professionals in politics, and especially in politics and the legal community, where they are becoming city states attorneys, circuit attorneys, district attorneys in Fulton County and LA County. Definitely Illinois has 4 or 5 African American women in high positions, but they have to understand there is an accountability to it, and there is going to be an extra lens watching you. And if you go in there with any of that sister girl stuff or using your color as a harbinger or as a crutch anytime that there's some difficulty or resistance from the system, that they're resisting you because you're a black woman. In 2024, I think that's a little bit of crying wolf. I think that if you have earned and garnered that position and worked your butt off to become a lead politician, congresswoman, senator, vice president of the United States like Kamala Harris, city state's attorney in Baltimore, you should have enough sense to know that if you're getting paid by the city and then they have a coronavirus related distribution compensation plan that's being funded and the funds are being released in the same building in City Hall, they're going to know, the city manager, the mayor's office they're going to know if the city state's attorney is not at work, is at home, is quarantined. You're making over $250,000 a year. You're getting deposits of over 9,000 every 2 weeks, 18,000 a month, and then you're sitting there filling out paperwork to get a request to get coronavirus funds of up to, it was $90,000, 40,000 distribution and a 50,000, which was only half of what you were making in salary. You're making $250. You didn't even need the money under the CARES Act. That was just egregious, thinking you were above the law, and greediness. And I think it's unfortunate. And now that it's clear as day, if the IRS and the FBI, if you've signed these documents and you know this as an attorney, that is a legal document, and that is clear, unabated evidence that you are operating in a criminal fashion to get this money when other people needed it. And so Marilyn Mosby, the Baltimore City State's attorney, gets her caught with her hand in the cookie jar. And the funds were all, as I say, in the same building right there in City Hall. Her salary and this compensation fund, this CARES Act. I don't know how she didn't think she would get caught. She gets caught and then she blames it on race. So my point to this entire video is that we have Kim Gardner did the same thing. She was behind 500 to 1,000 cases. There were tons of murder cases in the St. Louis area. She was the St. Louis Circuit Attorney, and she stayed in the news. The feds came in and they were trying to disbar her. They were trying to take her license. They were trying to send her to jail. And she finally resigned. And in many instances, we have to look in the mirror, manifest our truth. If we have taken on something that's too much for us, we need to ask for help. If we have done something wrong and have gotten caught, we need to live up to the things that we've done and be adult enough to handle the consequences. You have to understand, when you are a lawyer, a doctor, a judge, that you are held at a higher standard. You cannot plead ignorance that you didn't know. Marilyn Mosby, you cannot plead race baiting. At the end of the day, a crime is colorless. If you commit bank robbery that's not based on black or white, you committed bank robbery and got caught. You just happen to be black or white. So it's unfortunate, and it puts a bad light on black females that are trying to garner these positions again. When Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby gets convicted of 2 counts of perjury for this CARES Act, this coronavirus compensation plan, and then they're going after her for mortgage fraud for 2 houses in Florida. We got to look in the mirror and manifest our truth in the right direction. And I think when you get caught and the system goes after you, they're not going after you because you're black. They're going after you because you were wrong and you committed a crime and got caught. That's it. All right, let's manifest our truth. And this has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. Let's live in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way. See you next time.